Good morning. If you're a man over 60 and you've noticed your legs feel weaker climbing stairs, if your grip doesn't feel as solid as it used to, if you're eating what you think is enough protein but still losing muscle, or if you wonder why your body seems to be quietly shrinking despite your efforts, this might not be an age problem or even an amount problem. It could be a timing problem. Most men over 60 eat their protein the wrong way, skipping it at breakfast, loading it all at dinner, or spreading it randomly with no real pattern. Today we're talking about a simple protein timing trick, backed by muscle science, that can help men over 60 protect the muscle they still have, and even support modest gains without eating massive amounts or relying on expensive supplements. If this sounds like something you need, go ahead and like this video, drop a comment with your age and country so I know who's watching, and subscribe so you don't miss the senior health guidance we share here on this channel. Now let's talk about what happens to your muscles after 60. Your body becomes less efficient at using protein to build and maintain muscle, a process researchers call anabolic resistance. Think of it like this. When you were younger, your muscles responded quickly and strongly to protein, like a light switch flipping on. After 60, that switch becomes less sensitive. It needs a stronger signal, and it needs that signal more than once a day. If you eat all your day's protein in one big meal, or if you space it poorly, much of that protein gets burned for energy or turned into glucose rather than used to protect muscle. Your body doesn't store protein the way it stores fat or carbohydrates. What you don't use in a relatively short window, you lose. That's the problem. But it's also the opportunity, because timing protein across the day, especially at key windows, can unlock your body's ability to hold on to strength, balance, and independence. Here's the pattern most men over 60 fall into without even realizing it. They skip protein at breakfast, maybe grab toast or cereal or just coffee. They have a light lunch, maybe a sandwich or soup with a little protein, but not much. Then they sit down to a big dinner with a large steak, chicken breast or pork chop, thinking they've covered their bases for the day. The problem is, your muscles can only use so much protein at one time to build and repair. After a certain threshold, somewhere around 25 to 30 grams in one sitting for most older men, the benefit drops off sharply. The rest gets wasted. Meanwhile, your muscles went the entire morning and most of the afternoon without the signal they needed to maintain themselves, so they quietly started breaking down. By the time that big dinner arrives, it's too late to make up for the lost opportunity earlier in the day. The timing trick is simple. Spread your protein across the day in roughly equal portions, hitting a meaningful threshold at breakfast, after any physical activity, or around midday, and again in the evening. That meaningful threshold is about 20 to 30 grams per meal, or roughly the size and thickness of the palm of your hand. Not a massive amount, not a bodybuilder's portion. Just enough to send a clear signal to your muscles 3 times a day that says, "We're still in business. Hold on to your strength." Let's walk through the 3 key windows and why each one matters. First, the morning window. After you've been asleep for 7 or 8 hours, your body has been fasting. Your muscles have been slowly breaking down overnight to supply amino acids for other processes. When you wake up and skip protein at breakfast, that breakdown continues. But when you eat a protein-rich breakfast within the first hour or 2 after waking, eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, a protein smoothie, even leftovers from last night's dinner, you flip that switch. You tell your muscles to stop breaking down and start building back up. You also set your energy and metabolism for the day. Men who eat protein at breakfast report feeling steadier, less hungry mid-morning, and more mentally clear. That's not coincidence, that's biology. Second, the post-activity or midday window. If you take a morning walk, do yard work, lift light weights, or even just move around more than usual, your muscles are primed to absorb and use protein for the next couple of hours. That's when having a lunch or snack with a solid protein source, chicken, fish, beans, tofu, a protein shake, or even a handful of nuts with some cheese, supports repair and signals your body to keep muscle rather than break it down. Even if you don't exercise formally, having protein around midday keeps that second signal firing. It prevents the long gap between breakfast and dinner that leaves your muscles unsupported for hours. Third, the evening window. A moderate serving of protein before bed can fuel overnight muscle repair. Your body does a lot of rebuilding while you sleep, and if you give it the raw materials, it can work more effectively. This doesn't mean a huge steak. It means a reasonable portion of lean meat, fish, eggs, legumes, or dairy, alongside vegetables, and maybe a small serving of a complex carbohydrate. Pairing it with a meal that doesn't spike your blood sugar too hard before sleep keeps insulin steady and supports the muscle building process rather than fat storage. These three windows build on each other. Morning protein wakes up your metabolism and stops overnight muscle loss. Midday protein supports activity and prevents the afternoon muscle breakdown. Evening protein fuels overnight repair. Together, they create a rhythm that respects how the aging body actually builds and keeps muscle. The exact foods matter less than the pattern and the consistency. You don't need expensive cuts of meat or fancy shakes. You need a habit. Here's what that habit might look like in practice. Tonight, before you go to bed, decide what your protein-rich breakfast will be tomorrow. Maybe scrambled eggs with a slice of whole grain toast, still warm from the pan, the yolk breaking golden across the plate. Maybe a bowl of thick Greek yogurt with berries and a handful of almonds, the cold spoon heavy in your hand. Maybe a smoothie with protein powder, a banana and spinach, blended smooth and poured into your favorite glass. Set it up so it's easy in the morning. Tomorrow, eat that breakfast within an hour or two of waking, sitting down at the table rather than standing at the counter, tasting each bite instead of rushing through. Then, around midday or after any movement, notice your hunger and respond with protein rather than just grabbing crackers or chips. A turkey sandwich, a chicken salad, a bowl of lentil soup, or even a simple snack of cheese and fruit. Finally, plan your dinner around a modest, high-quality protein source: grilled chicken, baked fish, beans and rice, or a stir-fry with tofu, alongside plenty of vegetables. That's the pattern. 3 solid hits across the day, each one sending a signal to your muscles that you're still invested in staying strong. Let me explain the biology in plain terms. Muscle protein synthesis is the process your body uses to build and repair muscle tissue. It needs a signal to start, and that signal comes from eating protein. In younger bodies, one big meal might give a strong enough signal to last most of the day. In older bodies, that sensitivity is reduced. You need to send the signal more often, and you need to send it with enough intensity, meaning enough protein, to get through. Spacing protein gives repeated signals throughout the day. One big meal gives one signal and wastes the rest. That's why the man who eats 30 grams of protein at breakfast, 30 at lunch, and 30 at dinner will likely maintain more muscle than the man who eats 10 at breakfast, 10 at lunch, and 10 at dinner, 10 at lunch, and 70 at dinner, even though they ate the same total amount. The timing is the key. The benefits you'll feel are real and practical. Your legs will feel steadier when you climb stairs or stand up from a chair. Your grip strength will hold when you open a jar or carry groceries. Your balance will improve because your muscles are working together more effectively. You'll have more energy to play with grandkids, work in the garden, or take that walk you've been putting off, and you'll feel the confidence that comes from knowing your body is capable rather than fragile. That confidence matters more than most people realize. It's the difference between saying yes to life and quietly pulling back because you're not sure your body will support you. Now let's talk about safety and realistic expectations. If you have kidney disease, you need to manage protein carefully with your doctor. High protein intake can stress damaged kidneys, and your clinician will have specific targets for you. If you're on dialysis, protein needs are different again. If you have certain metabolic conditions or take medications for diabetes, you need to consider how protein timing interacts with blood sugar control and medication dosing. Protein can slow down carbohydrate absorption, which can be helpful, but it can also affect when your blood sugar peaks and how your medication works. Talk to your healthcare provider before making big changes, and understand that more protein isn't automatically better. There's a point of diminishing returns. Going way over your needs can stress your kidneys, cause digestive upset, or displace other important nutrients. The goal is moderation, quality sources, and consistency, not extremes. Let me be clear about what protein timing is not. This is not bodybuilding. This is not about eating 6 meals a day or constantly snacking. This is not a guarantee that you'll gain huge amounts of muscle at 60. What it is a practical way to slow or stop muscle loss, maintain the function you have, and support the active, independent life you want to live. When you combine smart protein timing with even modest resistance activity, standing up from a chair repeatedly, using light resistance bands, doing wall push-ups, or lifting light weights, the effect is even stronger. Your muscles respond better when they're being used and fed at the right times. Let me answer some questions that come up. First, does plant protein work as well as animal protein? It can, but you may need slightly more volume and a wider variety to get all the essential amino acids your muscles need. Combining beans and rice, or having tofu with quinoa, or pairing nuts with whole grains helps. Second, what if you're not hungry in the morning? Start small. A hard-boiled egg, a small cup of yogurt, a half scoop of protein powder stirred into your coffee, watching it dissolve into creamy swirls. Your appetite will often adjust within a few days once your metabolism starts expecting fuel in the morning. Third, are protein shakes or powders necessary? No. They're convenient, especially if you struggle to eat enough solid food, but whole foods work just as well and often better because they come with other nutrients. Fourth, what if you only eat 1 or 2 meals a day? You'll need to get creative. Front-load protein at the meal right after waking and make sure your second meal is protein-dense. It's harder to hit the timing windows this way, but not impossible. Fifth, does this approach help with weight management? Often, yes. Protein is more satiating than carbohydrates or fat, so spacing it across the day helps control hunger and reduces the chance of overeating later. It also supports metabolism because muscle tissue burns more calories at rest than fat tissue. Sixth, what signs suggest this is working? You'll notice you're less hungry between meals. You'll feel steadier on your feet. Stairs will feel slightly easier. Your grip will feel more solid. Recovery from walks or physical work will feel faster. Seventh, how long before you notice improvements? Some men feel a difference in energy and steadiness within the first week. Strength and balance improvements usually take 2 to 4 weeks of consistent timing and activity. Let's talk about what to watch for in the first week. Pay attention to whether your morning energy feels steadier and less sluggish, whether you're moving through the first hour without that dragging heaviness. Notice whether you're less hungry and less likely to grab junk food between meals, whether the pull toward the vending machine or the cookie jar feels weaker. Check if getting out of a chair or climbing a few stairs feels even slightly easier, if your legs respond a beat faster when you ask them to move. Notice whether your legs feel less shaky or tired after a walk, whether you're covering the same distance with less effort. Pay attention to how quickly you recover from physical work, like carrying groceries or doing yard work, whether you need to sit down afterward or whether you can keep going. These are the early signals that your muscles are getting the support they need. They're subtle at first, but they're real. Then, over the next 7 days, days 8 through 14, look for the next layer of change. Notice your grip strength when you open a jar or turn a stubborn key, whether it takes 1 try instead of 3. Pay attention to your balance when you bend down to pick something up or reach for something overhead, whether you feel planted instead of wobbly. Look in the mirror and check whether your arms and legs look a little more toned, a little less soft, whether the outline of muscle is starting to show through again. Notice whether you're moving through your day with more confidence, less hesitation, and less fear of stumbling or falling. Count how many times you think, "I can do that," instead of, "I'm not sure I should try." Notice whether you're saying yes to things you would have avoided a week ago, a longer walk, a heavier bag, a steeper set of stairs. These are the signs that protein timing is doing its job, not as a miracle, but as a consistent, practical tool that respects how your body works. I want to talk about the emotional side for a moment because this is about more than muscle. Many men over 60 quietly fear becoming dependent or frail. They see their fathers or older friends losing strength and independence, and they wonder if that's inevitable. Losing muscle feels like losing autonomy, like losing the ability to take care of yourself and the people you love. But this simple timing habit is a daily act of self-respect. It's a way of telling your body, "I still need you strong, and I'm going to feed you right to help you stay that way." It's not about vanity. It's about capability. It's about being able to get down on the floor to play with a grandchild and knowing you can get back up without help. It's about carrying your own bags, fixing things around the house, and walking into a room with your head up because you know your body will support you. That matters. It matters deeply. Protein timing represents a shift from asking, "Am I eating enough?" to asking, "Am I eating smart?" It's about working with your body's natural rhythms instead of fighting them or ignoring them. It's about giving your muscles what they need, when they need it, so they can do the job you're asking them to do. And the job you're asking them to do is simple. Keep you strong enough to live the life you want to live on your terms for as long as possible. So here's what I want you to do. Try this for 2 weeks. Not as a diet, but as a pattern. A rhythm that respects how the aging body actually builds and keeps muscle. Set up your protein-rich breakfast tonight. Eat it tomorrow morning. Add protein to your midday meal or snack. Plan a reasonable protein portion at dinner. Notice how you feel. Keep track of those specific markers we talked about: energy, hunger, steadiness, strength, balance, confidence. Keep doing it every day for 14 days and then decide whether it's making a difference. If it is, keep going. If it's not, or if it causes any issues, talk to your doctor. But give it a real, honest chance to work. If you're willing to try spacing your protein across 3 windows starting tomorrow, drop a comment below with your age, country, and whether you're ready to give this timing trick a shot. Subscribe to this channel for more senior health guidance on strength, independence, and living well as you age. And remember, protecting muscle isn't about going back in time. It's about staying strong enough to keep moving forward, one well-timed meal at a time.